Seas were theirs. Light streams linked their towns as they sank beneath the waters. It throbbed in time with the beat of their cardiac rhythm. The N had constructed lofty honeycombs that extended above, their chittering voices generating an enduring buzz of activity. Among all of them, in the high atmosphere, creatures of energy moved gracefully, their shapes changing like the aurora, planet Earth. Did not disturb, the planet was affluent, they owned the planet. A voice crackled over her communication implant, calling out to her as commander. Something has been detected by deep space monitoring. Unusual, the irritated gill slits of fluttered. She had asked for some peace and quiet. In time to go over the morning reports. While excavating the ancient human artifacts, the crews uncovered yet another stash. That their technology was so rudimentary. Strange artifacts from an ancient culture, nothing dangerous. What kind of unusual? She inquired. Headquarters, Captain, massive formations. Traveling at an astonishing rate of speed towards our system, which caught her notice. Disengaging her gaze from the window, switched on the holographic screen in her command center, the three-dimensional. Their solar system's periphery became visible as the star map came to life. She gave me the go-ahead, and the technician, a young called who was obviously anxious, used his forearms to move the controls. Here, Commander. Initially, we suspected a system glitch. Examined the data stream and determined that readings are not feasible. Hundreds of items. They were all enormous and were moving in perfect unison at speeds that were unbelievable. Their speed was decreasing at a rate that was more alarming than anything in the known galaxy. Orchestrated in such a way that they could not have been caused by natural disasters or asteroids. How much longer till they reach us, assuming they keep decelerating at their present rate of 17 days? Have you determined their place of origin, Commander? The compound eyes have clicked. Unease. The peculiarity is in the fact that the energy signatures correspond to a number of the items. Among the human artifacts, the computer insists on identifying them as human ships, which is obviously not the case, as humans have long since gone extinct. Felt a shiver go down her aquatic body as she thought of the 3,000 years she had spent studying humans. As a component of her education in archaeology, these people had once been a vicious, destructive race that came just as they were poisoning their own world and killing themselves in a succession of terrible conflicts. On a planet devoid of any sign of life and engulfed in radioactive decay. Rerun the simulation, I have already checked the sensor array for problems as you requested, Commander. Here are the results. Are in agreement. The holographic screen was refreshed, revealing further information regarding the advancing armada. The vessels were gigantic, so much larger than anything they had ever constructed. Their outline was streamlined. Vicious, like ship-shaped weaponry, communicate with high command. The situation may escalate to first contact within the next several hours, the speaker said. As word got out, an emergency meeting of the High Council was called with members of the three species disputing about the best course of action, with some wishing to fortify their fortifications and others advocated for diplomatic engagement, while some proposed leaving the country. Due to her extensive background and experience, was chosen to lead the investigative team. She hoped someone else had the task, but her expertise in human archaeology made her the logical choice. Over the following 3 days, she scoured human data for any hints she might find. Concerns their possible destinations. According to the canonical narrative, people had annihilated themselves. However, as she delved more into the records, she came across disturbing omissions. Some of the earlier documents mentioned Exodus ships. Papers, references of colonial plans, and distant space expeditions. Most intriguingly, she uncovered classified data of a program known as Project Homecoming. She said to herself in the solitude of her study, they didn't all perish, the highest echelons of human governance. A few of them departed. The consequences were enormous. What if people had managed to stay alive for 3,000 years? Where exactly were they? After what seemed like an eternity, the approaching armada finally sent out a signal on the 10th day. Heralded the arrival of Admiral Sarah of the overall channels, with flawless standard language. Earthling Expeditionary Fleet, We are making our way back to our home planet. Kindly reply. The voice was serene. Expert, and its self-assurance was so chilling that listened to the message 17 times, dissecting each one. The speaker's intonation conveyed a sense of unwavering confidence in their ability to achieve their goals. The reaction that was authorized after another full day of deliberation by High Command was polite in nature. All the solid, you have arrived in the Yao Sol system, where 3 billion beings now call this planet home. Good day, people. We are more than happy to have a conversation about your plans via the appropriate diplomatic channels. The human response returned in a matter of minutes. Got it. We need to meet right away to talk about the terms of the transfer of planetary administration. The clock is ticking. Planetary administration transition. Counselor, the senior representative of, fluttered with fury. It seems like they have already made up their minds. Maybe they just don't grasp the gravity of the issue, Chief speculated. King of the, and his people may think that no one lives on Earth. Scrutinized the tactical screens that revealed the human fleet's approach. The ship's mathematical accuracy in movement there. Formation with variations of less than 1 meter. Whatever these people had evolved into. It was evident that they had acquired discipline throughout their protracted exile. She suggested that we approve of the meeting, although we do it in accordance with our own conditions and in our own place, accompanied by our own security. The High Council agreed, and they stated that they would dispatch meeting a single human spacecraft at the system's edge with their top diplomatic ship would be a demonstration of goodwill. Fidelity while keeping a safe distance from Earth, with the diplomatic delegation ready to set sail, examined all the information they had on human behavior and psychology. The historical records depicted them as sentimental, erratic, violent when provoked, yet those documents were from 3,000 years ago. Were aware of the effects of space and time on them, the evening before to the mission's departure. Once again, she stood at her observation window, gazing downwards at the lights of New Geneva, where 3 billion souls continued to reside. Undersea metropolises that they had constructed were more aesthetically pleasing than anything their race had ever produced before. A hive complex full of happy, productive bees has been set up by. As their energy forms danced in patterns of pure art, they had found calm in Earth's upper atmosphere. It had been nearly devastated by humans, but they had restored its bloom and made it their home once more, whatever these returning. In order for mankind to achieve their desires, they must first acknowledge that the planet Earth was not theirs. At this point, the diplomatic vessel and a hand-picked group of negotiators set sail first thing in the morning. They had 17 distinct plans, created from the several relocation proposals they had received. They anticipated seeing frantic migrants on their way to robust territorial discussions. Hiding out maybe a few thousand people aboard antiquated ships. What? Encountered something quite different waiting for them at the border of the system. In contrast to their diplomatic spacecraft, the human ship was both aesthetically pleasing and horrifically deadly, like an art piece made just to murder. Strange energy patterns flowed over its surface, suggesting that the hull was absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Advanced technology that defies comprehension. As their ship drew near, sensed increasing anxiety. It had been 3,000 years since mankind had left. What she had been up to throughout the past 3 years, the docking procedure took 3 hours prior to granting contact. The human spacecraft seemed to analyze the diplomatic vessel's molecular composition. When the airlocks were opened, received her first glimpse of the human race in its current state. Taller than anything recorded in history, Admiral Sarah stood towering. Her skin had an unusual metallic shine, and her eyes had of silver that appeared to flare up in the faint light. Her movements were so graceful and flowing that they brought to thoughts. "Commander," the Admiral proclaimed, referring to the aquatic predator. Extended her hand in the traditional welcoming gesture of humans, saying, "Thank you for meeting with us." She with the diplomatic procedure her team had studied and accepted the handshake. As soon as their hands met, she let out a cry as the human's hand felt as if it were cradling a piece of industrial device. The palm was cold and obviously alive, but also as solid as stone. "Please be." Sitting down, Admiral remarked, pointing to the conference table her staff had set up. We are going to have a lengthy discussion about meet. As the delegates took their seats, Ara became increasingly aware of information about their hosts. The people walked as if in unison. They appeared to have an unseen bond, as if their garments were crafted from a substance that could change shape and flowed, adjusting to their every step. Most disturbingly, a little buzzing sound, as if every person has an internal power source. We are aware that you have established residences here while we were away, the Admiral said, adding that this was not surprising. Yes, responded with care. Earth has been our home for 3,000 years. This planet for 70 generations. We have established towns, cultivated families, made art and tradition. This is the homeland of 3 billion people, Admiral applauded with much consideration. Our analysis of records corroborated this. Your folks have accomplished a remarkable amount. Extraordinary effort in reestablishing Earth's environment. For this, we are eternally thankful. The Admiral's tone caused Gills to flutter with nervousness, even if the words themselves were benign. It sounded like expressing gratitude to those who had cared for a residence while its owners were abroad. On the other hand, the Admiral carried on. The time of change must be considered next. A significant relocation package is at our disposal for your employees. Shipping goods to appropriate planets in your former domain. 17 planets have been located by our teams that could be perfect for the colonization of. A hush descended over the meeting room. Through their shared communication link, could feel the disbelief of her comrades, being a human. Transporting 3 billion individuals as if it were an easy matter of logistics. Said with great care, Admiral, I believe there might be a potential miscommunication. We intend to be here permanently. The planet Earth is where we are officially based. Through the rules of the cosmos, for 3,000 years we have called this place home. I get your role and we understand and support it, Admiral said. However, the planet never left humanity's side. As a team, we set out to become stronger and we intended to. Coming back, imagine a lengthy military assignment, and specialist in law and one of his advisors called. Drew nearer. Respectfully, Admiral, your species was officially recognized. Wiped out by the Council of Stars. Across all of civilized space, the lawful possession of uninhabited planets is acknowledged. Admiral's face took on a new look, even though she maintained her civility. Caught a glimpse of something that sent shivers down her spine. According to the Admiral, the Galactic Council, gently acting on the premise that power always triumphs, they hold the winner is the one who can muster the most formidable army and weaponry. Do you want to see how our present skills stack up against one another? The Admiral signaled to an escort before anybody could respond. They finally got a clear look at what the species had become after 3,000 years when a human came forward. The individual stood at a towering 7 feet, with muscles that seemed like they were sculpted from rock. Like the Admiral's, his skin had a noticeable metallic shine. At the time, as he shifted to adjust a chair, the metal piece of furniture crumpled under his fingers like a piece of paper. Task Force tours. The Honorable Admiral urged our guests to witness a demonstration. Under the normal range of human physical abilities, the sergeant lifted the heavy metal conference table, which must have weighed at more than 500 pounds, which he lowered over his head using only one hand. He kept it in his hands and then carefully place it back down after a few seconds. Without even breathing heavily, a new appearance has taken the stars. The cold metal of the commander's ship was felt by Commander's webbed hand. Looking down on the glittering lights of New Geneva from the viewing deck. Earth has thrived under care for 3,000 years after the last human spacecraft departed. There were her people and the blue. The Admiral detailed the benefits of integrated nanotechnology, including increased bone density and restructured muscle fibers. Without ceremony, these alterations are now commonplace in all humans, the lieutenant. Our present military standards essentially place this location below average. What was she seeing? Attempted to make sense of it. These had departed from Earth in a different species. A combination of evolution and technology had given them a fresh new identity. Everyone here has matured. Admiral heard her get out. We have adapted. Incorrect, said. Colonizing worlds in low gravity for 3,000 years, radiation. Systems that are wet and unfriendly surroundings. People have to make a simple decision, change or perish. We opted. Evolution. The Admiral turned on a holographic screen that displayed star maps of the surrounding galaxy. Human symbols linked by lines denoting commerce routes, and military sites were marked on dozens of systems. Meanwhile, she went on to say that 47 star systems had been colonized. Every planet had its own distinct difficulties necessitating tailored adjustments. Our experience in desert environments has prepared us to go months without water, ice. Worlds boosted our metabolism and made us more resistant to cold. We were able to become immune to energy that may wipe out the majority of animal species. The screen focused on many planets, revealing immense urban centers and commercial structures that everything in space. At its most compact, our colony is home to 50 million. We have over 1 billion in our biggest. Our galactic now extends over light years. Innovation that your workers have never even considered. A click escaped jaws. With apprehension, why come back to Earth if you're doing so well in space? Undoubtedly, you possess vast. More suitable for your improved physiology. A change occurs in Admiral's countenance. On a smaller scale, as this is my permanent residence. In their first year of life, all children learn about the planet Earth. Lessons, they hear tales of verdant forests and beautiful skis, of life-rich seas. In sync with the changing of the seasons, paradise isn't a place to call home, even though we have created it amid the stars. She did. Stepped up to the viewing platform, and as he did so, he gazed out at the blue marble that is Earth suspended in space. In addition, we have a large. Assured me, she went on, our forefathers took an oath when they left. Come back with their own offspring. For 100 generations, the vow has remained unchanged. Yours truly. Carry it out, even though she was afraid of the response, questioned what would happen if we refused to go. Revering his course, Admiral. She seemed very sorrowful when she spoke to them. After that, you'll find out how and why our species managed to adapt and endure when countless others perished. That is not, Commander, we do not desire confrontation. Over the course of our lengthy trip throughout the cosmos, however, our planet will be restored to us. As soon as she depressed a button on her wristwatch, the display shifted to reveal the human fleet. Space was teeming with thousands of spacecraft, every one teeming with weaponry and technology that appeared to be the materialization of pure energy. Our offer is yours to think over for 7 days, declared Admiral. Talk to your superiors about it and weigh your alternatives. We're hopping for wisdom to win out, but we're ready for anything. Discussion came to a halt as astonishment swept throughout the room, with the group getting ready to saw that she was observing the people more intently after they left. They were graceful, articulate, and had an aura of poetry. The unfaltering self-assurance of top-tier predators who had never fallen prey. Her crew sat in stunned silence as they returned to Earth, and lastly, their thoughts were all articulated by, they've changed since they departed. As nodded and watched, he said, there's something new, something more. Watching Earth expand on the screen, 3 billion made their home on that stunning blue planet. However, she was starting to grasp the possibility that they were residing in someone else's home. The humans had made a triumphant return, and they resembled nothing at all. Much to everyone's surprise, the High Council convened for 3 consecutive days in emergency session. The human fleet stood guard at the perimeter as representatives of the 3 species debated, plotted, and made preparations. Some yelled out for quick capitulation, while others insisted they fight for their homeland. In delivering her report to the assembled leaders, she constructed a picture of the humans based on every aspect she had noticed. Identical image, they were confronted with entities they could not hope to fend off. Ended up being conquerors who came back to grab what was rightfully theirs. Our scanning of their spacecraft has revealed technology that is centuries ahead of our comprehension, according to Counselor. Glowed with fury. It's not feasible to uproot 3 billion people just because some people have developed better beings. Have made up their minds that they want the old world returned to them. The case law is quite plain. This world is now ours, Chief said, over the past 70. Throughout its evolution, desired to concur with them, but she had locked eyes with Admiral. Nobody with those eyes would have been influenced by arguments presented in court. Our evacuation should commence immediately, in my opinion. Planning while keeping in diplomatic touch, she remarked. These people don't appear to care about mass murder. They would rather have Earth than us dead. Hours passed as the argument raged on. But everything came to a close as soon as the human fleet started to maneuver. Sensing devices with a long range found the vast spacecraft gliding into alignment as they approached the solar system from Earth. They went at a leisurely pace, purposefully allowing the enough time to monitor their progress. It was the gesture of an incredibly self-assured person. It was another telegram from Admiral. Orbital activities have begun. Your ships must remain at least a safe distance from each other. Of certain areas, intentional confrontation should be avoided. On the same day, we humans have taken full command of the space surrounding our planet. At each significant orbital point, their ships assumed position, assuring an ideal zone of military dominance. Any spacecraft attempting to depart the planet would be compelled to go through its border, yet they did not discharge a single round. In its mind, it was all a show. Observing the tactical demonstrations, they've shown us that they're capable of destroying our space infrastructure at any moment. But they're opting out instead. Another 12 hours passed before the first manned landing craft made their appearance. Unlike the enormous, these battleships were sleeker, smaller boats. Like falling stars, they dipped towards the surface of the Earth as well. Swift, their movements too elegant for the technology that they could comprehend, made an attempt to intercept them using defenses deployed on the ground. As soon as they saw the approaching ship, their missile systems began firing their cutting-edge weaponry. A horrified watched as the human ship did little more than absorb the missile hits. Lowering the pace, the weapons officer reported with astonishment that their hulls are adjusting. He is gaining knowledge from every strike and building up a defense. The landing craft made touchdowns at 17 different spots on Earth, having won. After the landing, human troops appeared and displayed unprecedented coordination and speed. It wasn't like the specimens that were upgraded at the diplomatic summit. These were considerably riskier. Received her initial. Browsed the footage from New Geneva's CCTV cameras. People sported armor that moved and looked to have life of its own, flowing with every step. Because of the force of the fall, the Earth shook as they went, talking to each other there. Cries resounded across far distances unaided by technology. Ground reclamation forces, first deployment. Word got out from their leader. Ecosystem restoration in certain zones may now begin. People in the general public while you depart to secure areas. The events that transpired thereafter were unprecedented in human history. No, people didn't wipe off the places in. On the contrary, they started altering their immediate environment. Their landing craft ejected massive machinery, instruments that appeared to alter the fundamental laws of life and biological sciences. The physiology-adapted forests started to change. Returning to their initial arrangements on Earth, disinfection facilities were discovered. The chemical processes in the water went backwards when people brought them back to their natural state. As atmospheric processors undid the changes that had made Earth habitable, a noticeable shift in the air itself occurred. Hospitable to extraterrestrial lungs, the world isn't the only target, chief scientist. I can't believe it, said. It will be restored to its pre-our arrival state. This procedure was progressing swiftly enough to thwart evolution. We humans have the technological means to change global ecosystems with time blocks. As they died out, fresh vegetation sprung up to take their place. Changes occurred in the chemistry of the water, not even dirt. Texture and color started to shift on its own. From the depths of the water, the rebel group Hydro launched their response. Divided areas. The attack was personally spearheaded by Commander, who deployed their most cutting-edge underwater weaponry against the coastal areas that are accessible to humans. People had expected this reaction, they found out, given that is. As the armies drew near the initial human outpost, they came face to face with mariners who swam like fish. Dangerous animals. Evolutionarily, these people have gill-like slits along the length of their necks and gills that allow them to swim through water more quickly than swimmers. The fight took only a few minutes. Weapons used by humans transformed water into plasma by use of energy beams. It was possible for them to plunge to rock-bottom depths where might be able to stay alive. And worst of all, they seemed to be thinking as one unit as they battled. Return, ordered as she saw her soldiers disperse in the face of the approaching humans. Regroup and take cover, all troops. Deep positions were not safe, though. Unbelievable depths were reached by human submersibles, their protective shells being able to endure forces that smash every known substance. They deftly navigated the darkest ditches as if possessed them. Up in the clouds, they had to deal with their personal hell, with the conviction that their control over energy manipulation would allow them to derail human technology. They had attempted this. They would have the upper hand due to electromagnetic forces. Their encounters were instead with people who had mastered the art of turn one's own mind into a weapon. The psychological conflict gave rise to the aurora, displays that could be seen from the surface of the planet, when energy creatures collided with humans whose brains had been upgraded beyond what was considered normal limits. However, what had previously been an asset, the collective consciousness, became a liability. In a fight against foes who would use their mutual ideas as weaponry, it became evident within a few days that opposition was totally out of luck. We were prepared for every move. Every weapon was retaliated upon. Despite the fact that every line of defense was either broken or overrun, the humans failed to eliminate them. Civilian rescue ships are allowed to depart from specific areas. The name of the initiative was Transport to Our. The relocation process will start right away, so it's in your best interest to comply for your own protection. A flood ensued during the evacuation. Countless crammed into ships, making their way. With regard to the 17 planets that mankind had extended to them, the survivors were confronted with surviving in worlds that are getting stranger by the day. With Earth's metamorphosis progressing, remained steadfast in her leadership. Core, as she saw her underwater metropolis decay into, as mankind returned the ocean's chemical balance to its original state. The affected population was already feeling the effects of the altered water composition. They would soon be without other option but to depart. A communications officer for the commander contacted her. Our company is getting an intimate message from the admiral, a serene-looking human being materialized on the main screen. Very competent, as always. I know you are in charge of the surviving resistance forces, Commander. One of my goals is to meet with you face-to-face. So what's on your mind? Spoke up. The fact that I admire your bravery and the devotion you show to your people. Despite your valiant efforts, this conflict will not be won by you alone. One, think about the people who will follow you. With her gaze fixed on the Admiral, perceiving true esteem in those enlarged eyes. Just what are you up to? What is it? From space you could have rendered us all extinct. So why is the conquering so gradual? Admiral's countenance became somewhat more subdued, since we may still recall the sensation. To wipe the slate clean and begin over. Leaving the only place we had ever known was painful, and we still feel the effects. Neither of us wants to cause needless pain to other people, yet you intend to do it nevertheless. Indeed, the Admiral conceded as this belongs to us, and we've been waiting here for 3,000 years to get back. We promised to be kind, but we won't be. With the connection cut off, was left to ponder her ideas in solitude. All around her, the last free soldiers awaited instructions that, in her mind, would lead to even more carnage. The humans had come again. Their strength was insurmountable, and they reclaimed Earth. On the morning of the 15 days after humans first settled the area, the enormous metropolis had become's final emblem. The Earth civilization, with its crystalline spires ascending into the clouds over the old Swiss Alps. 50 million people, including civilians, sought refuge behind its walls, while the rest, army units from all three races, from the observation deck of the command tower, watched as human soldiers advanced. Encircle the metropolis. With mechanized accuracy, they drew a flawless line around it, enclosing every escape path. However, they were not attacking, rather they were patiently waiting. What exactly are they up to, General? Commander of the military inquired at his compound. With increasing annoyance, they studied the human postures. Why don't they just crush us? Why? Because they're want. While observing the human formations with her tactical sight, responded with anything. By now they might have captured the city. This is no longer about conquering her. The solution was revealed 3 hours later, as enormous drilling apparatuses emerged from manned landing vehicles. Unlike anything they had ever used before, penetrating the ground with energy beams that transformed solid rock into. Principal scientist said that they were excavating straight under the. Drilling persisted for days in the heart of the city, reaching depths below our foundations, as human excavation crews toiled away. Never appearing to weary, they dug with their enlarged bodies all day long. Had a sense of direction, following a set course that descended directly through the stone and metal strata. On the third, Doctor arrived from the excavation site like a hero after a long day of digging. They had discovered what they were searching for. Guy coming back from a prayer session. The human archaeologist performed his duties with great reverence, carefully overseeing the excavation of relics unearthed from the depths of New Geneva's base. Admiral made a personal appearance to supervise the operation. As she stood on the edge of the excavation site, she saw her workers bring up containers that radiated with gentle interior light. These were the Genesis archives, she thought to herself. Made public by various means of electronic communication, the human race's accumulated genetic and cultural knowledge. Our forefathers departed from our planet, our whole identity, including our aspirations for the future. Data kept in quantum crystal matrices that have patiently awaited our return for the past 3,000 years. An icy shiver went down Sam's amphibious spine. The humans hadn't returned from their vacation just yet. On a mission to recover their home world, and most importantly, their souls, Commander. Through the connection system, Admiral's voice came through. I propose a gathering. There are matters that must be addressed, he said. I get it. They crossed paths amid the rubble of the former UN headquarters, halfway. On the edge of the defense perimeter between the human excavation site. Neither of them missed the symbolic significance. As Admiral said, your city is built on our most sacred site, her improved features revealing true. Feeling for the very first time, as they made preparations to leave, our forefathers buried. Interred with all our humanity, with the longing that our offspring would return from afar and recall. Identified them, gazed at the illuminated receptacles. Placed around them, what's inside? Is it philosophy, art, music, literature, or the empirical evidence, mathematical models, and genetic blueprints of every creature that ever existed on Earth prior to the Big Bang? Ideas and the aspirations of 1 billion people's brains, all that we left behind, all that we've invested 3,000 years of our lives into. Doctor came over, holding one of the smaller containers, as he attempted to reproduce. Excuse me, Commander, might I show you something upon receiving signal? He turned on the gadget. The atmosphere was filled with music, eerily lovely tunes that appeared to resonate with her on a profound level. Awareness, mental pictures accompanied auditory ones. These pictures depicted vanishing species, oceans, and forests. This is what Earth was like ago, children laughing beneath azure sky. Doctor whispered, this is what we're trying to bring back, and what do you think about it? What our story has said, what about the city's 50 million inhabitants? They can't stay, Admiral said with a more determined look on his face. The thing is that's not up for debate, but removing them doesn't have to involve violence. At that moment the protest started, up in the sky. A fire broke out in the solar system's outer regions. Martian juggernaut Jupiter started to radiate a luminous new light. The light intensified until it resembled a second sun, creating shadows as it did so. During the middle of the day on Earth, stellar engineering, Admiral stated in a composed manner while observing. The scared look on his face. For the time being, we are turning Jupiter's atmosphere into a fusion reaction. No need to fret. Soon enough, it will go out of power. Our strengths are showcased by the process, though. As the new sun burned brightly in the sky, gazed up at it. These people weren't merely cutting-edge weaponry. Their technology allowed them to control the stars themselves. Why are you showing me this? She said. Simply said, resistance is more than merely futile, it's not needed. We would like not to decimate you. Compared to what you have here, we aim to provide you something greater. The, the Admiral turned on a holographic screen that showed the 17 planets that humanity had prepared for the to relocate to. Having won. Earth's surface had been meticulously modified to accommodate the unique requirements of the 3 different life forms. The underwater realms, continents that are hive-ready for the, and atmospheres that are energy-rich for the. According to Admiral, these worlds are not rewards for suffering. What makes them? Gifts, using money and technology. We have spent decades training them to surpass everything that your folks have ever had. Your race would thrive on any of these planets more than on Earth. So what makes you want Earth returned? Reason being, it's home, the Admiral said plainly. Because the world of natural forests and blue skies is a dream for our children. Given that we committed to this 3,000 years ago, and commitments are important, the transitory luminary dimmed as Jupiter's atmosphere responded. Burnt out, but the message was loud and clear. People had turned into considered solar systems to be building projects. Within New Geneva, the top brass mustered the courage to confront reality, with Chief leading the charge. Broke the news that no one wanted to hear. We cannot win this war. They shifted their focus to transforming from a gas giant into a star for a few hours simply to make a point, General said, his voice devoid of emotion. They have exhausted all other options. Do their own intelligence reports provided the solution? Human colonies. From all corners of the cosmos, spacecraft were making their way to Earth, bringing with them millions of people who were prepared to start over. Ancestral residents. The space fleet was only the leading force. The true colonization fleet had not yet arrived. What the? That many, it was who inquired. 200 million people in the first, according to conservative estimations. That found, as more and more people join each year, the world will eventually hit its maximum carrying capacity. There was an enormous amount of data. If they were to manage to overcome the armed troops, they would still confront an continual influx of human settlers, each one improved beyond what is normally possible, having one who possessed technology that rendered science appear rudimentary. On the other hand, the most shocking finding originated from the people working as archaeology teams, even as they dug into the Genesis archive. Found out that the natural ecology of Earth administered by the wasn't really natural. We have been utilized by them. Oppose our own repair efforts. You replanted every forest, Dr. Webb stated. You were unwittingly following the original Earth blueprint, with every ocean you cleansed and mountain you restored. Kept in the archives, for 3,000 years you have been getting our planet ready for when we return. The irony couldn't have been more spot-on and dreadful. They hadn't only been inhabiting Earth, they had been tending to it, keeping it in the same perfect condition as. Upon their return, mankind would desire it. As darkness descended upon New Geneva, choose to do so, she summoned the soldiers and sent a message over the emergency communication system. You are. Chief, we must all halt our fire immediately. Units, please stand down and be ready to evacuate. An intense and rapid reaction. An enemy of the people she was accused of betraying. Some people asked her to think again, but the majority of them just recognized what was certain to happen. Admiral, the commanding voice, emerged. Way through which information is conveyed. It was the correct decision that you took. Am I right? The question was posed by, alternately, have I simply given up? Send 3 billion people into exile. 3 billion lives were spared because of you. The Admiral said they were given an opportunity to create something better and fresh. A genuine leader would make that decision, given that. Just as the last human excavation crews were pulling up the last of the Genesis archives crates from underneath New Geneva. Cognizant of the fact that this has always transpired, it wasn't strength that gave humans Earth, it was because it had always been a part of them. The archive included their aspirations, desires, and steadfast bond with the azure realm that bestowed their birth. 3-0. Those years spent apart have only served to cement that bond. People had come back. They were now too powerful to. The Earth was beckoning them to return home. First thing on the 20th morning, a problem arose. Each day, as Commander stood amidst the rubble of the former UN Plaza, gazing at the dawn over a planet that had ceased to be her domain, in her vicinity the last Military units of the made preparations to evacuate as teams of humans continued to shape the world, she proclaimed, her voice resonating throughout the plaza. I invoke the right of final contest. Speaker amplifiers, duel between champions with conditions determined by the result. A person's reaction came. Admiral, accompanied by her upgraded soldiers, materialized at the plaza's edge within minutes. She, however, was not grinning. I don't think this is necessary, Commander. As the Admiral declared, the evacuation is going well. Your people have already begun to settle into their new homes on the planets that we have prepared. Why? My people need to see that we fought to the end, said, explaining why he would sacrifice lives for ceremonial fighting. Plus, as a result of even a remote possibility that we may still be able to call this planet home is something I need to know about, Admiral. Careful observation of her. Do you have any terms in mind? Should my Instead, you set aside your armies for a century, giving us the opportunity to quietly leave according to our own conditions. When winner takes it all, we give in right away and gladly accept your move plan. The fleet commander gently gave a nod. Also, who will be your advocate, standing up straight? The back, our head physician, doctor, will be mine and ours. Expert in xenobiology, even was taken aback by the decision. Unexpectedly, she was confronted by one of the enormous abysses. Marines or upgraded troops. The humans, on the other hand, had picked a lady who seemed like any other scientist. With the same fluid ease that all humans now had, Doctor approached across the plaza, but he showed no emotion. Of the plainly visible improvements to the troops' physical abilities, her height was just right, and her strength was subtle but noticeable. Beyond human, her voice was soft and sweet as she talked. Officer, you have my utmost admiration for your bravery. Standing up for your people was an honor. Same with you, physician. Spoke up. Where do we start? The battle zone was evacuated in. Close to the plaza's center, as members of the three species observed from a safe distance. While the communication networks broadcast the incident live to their viewers, human recorders recorded every second. Rescue vessels, traditional fighting rules. Adam made the announcement only through hand-to-hand communication. No artificial modifications other than those inherent to your nature. Fighting will not end until one becomes unable to participate or gives way, triggered the innate powers of electric arcs flickered between her webbed amphibious legs as she felt power flood through her amphibious body. Ready to attack with her index finger. A nation born to fight, her people mastered the art of underwater fighting and electrical warfare. Discharge, with her hands resting on her lap, Doctor observed with serene fascination, striking first, followed through with the blazing speed of a predator in the deep sea. Any adversary would have been shocked by her electric discharge, but as the electrical strike faded away, Doctor's skin suddenly glowed as she absorbed the energy. The doctor casually described radiation resistance, while evading follow-up attack with little effort. Colonizing systems with unstable stars for 3,000 years usually leads to energy absorption. Capabilities, with her suited constitution, swung around the humans. Protections against. On the other hand, Doctor was as swift as water, evading every hit. Doctor proceeded, catching in the act, saying, "Your fighting form is amazing." Diverting the assault with a gentle flick of the wrist mid-strike. The combat styles of are ideal for action-packed battles in the sea. Developing comparable abilities for has been an unfortunate need. Environments. As fear deepened, she learned that the human scientist had launched her own onslaught. Totally surpassed. During the fight, Doctor never used more force than as needed, never going faster than what is really necessary. Every move was planned, carefully positioned to incapacitate than of demolish. Reflex enhancement in the high-gravity environment. Doctor described adaptation as she dove under another electrical blast from raised bone density after a period of low surroundings with oxygen. From dangerous planets where every obstacle is out to kill you, muscle fiber enhancement. The person teaching biology ended up methodically dismantling her while coming out on top in battle. Even their breathing was labored. Human evolution's intriguing aspect. Spanning 3, Doctor went on, deftly parrying a last-ditch attack before tapping gently in return. upon which stumbled, the fact that we didn't merely adjust to various challenges, we discovered how to adjust to the process of adaptation. The last conversation was short, summoned her every shred of power for one more strike, directing every volt to generate with her own body. It was clear that the discharge was lethal to the vast majority of organisms. Dear Doctor, by using her bare hands to absorb the electrical explosion, was able to redirect it into the surface. She extended her hand and moved forward in a smooth manner. Delicately on the shoulder of, only a touch was necessary, feeling her legs give way, while her body's muscles atrophied. Not out of pain, but because of the sheer magnitude of it all, she knelt. Understanding of how much she had been beaten, mapping of neural pathways. Hello, doctor. Down on one knee, whispered an explanation. Pressure point manipulation that does not cause death. Evolved as a result of interactions with 17 distinct aggressive species. You are only momentarily paralyzed. No harm has come to you. Chica gazed up at the human scientist, recognizing the augmented eyes as a source of true compassion. Why? She said softly. Then why would you want to show it to me? According to Doctor, it was important for you to comprehend. With each. These talents are now innate to humans, nor just our troops, nor even the army, no one except all of us. Our might did not only increase while we were in exile, Commander, we matured beyond our to exist, had a hard time sitting up as sensation came back to her limbs. It was clear to her as she looked around the square that her people's expressions. Their best fighter had been dispatched by a human scientist who had scarcely used any effort, and they had witnessed it all. In her head, while was being helped to her feet, Doctor proceeded by saying that your people fought. As a species, we excel at adapting to new environments, and you did just that by creating something lovely here. The thing that we've on a consistent basis. The key to our survival is to change, to find solutions, and to keep going. Admiral strode over, her countenance grave yet kind. All conditions for battle have been satisfied. Commander, will you budge? In's eyes. As she made her last round around the square, she noticed the human restoration teams hard at work, and her own people getting ready to evacuate ships. Prior to the start of the battle, the choice had already been taken. I give way, she said softly, as Earth is given up to human rule by the Confederation. The military-led evacuation was completed in a matter of weeks. With 3 on board, the final cargo ships sailed out from Earth's atmosphere. Million people to their new homes in space. The humans fulfilled their word on the relocation planets, supplying with resources and technology that Earth has never seen before. However, for now, act as a go-between for the human colonial authority. The Ye recalled details of the memory of that last battle lingered. She had battled the very future and come up short. A year later, she found herself in the rehabilitated Amazonian jungle, observing human kids playing amid trees that had grown from seeds preserved in the Genesis record. Earth was once again invaded with life, but this time it wasn't the habitats that had been altered by but the native Earth environment was brought back to its former magnificence. On the viewing platform, Admiral joined her, and they both gazed out over the verdant canopy that extended all the way to the horizon. The Admiral inquired, "Do you regret it?" Gave the subject some thought. People were flourishing on their newfound planets, constructing advanced civilizations that their previous endeavors on this planet, this exquisite blue marble, would never belong to them, nevertheless. Reiterating earlier, she eventually said, "No, yeah, you were correct. Even during the lengthy exile, we remained here because this is, and always has been your home. While you were away, we were only taking precautions." Admiral took off her helmet, exposing features that her appearance belied her advanced years. She was actually one of the children who had departed from this world long ago. "We kept our promise," she said, having lived to witness the recovery of Earth 3,000 years ago. "We made it home. It was just a matter of time until we were ready to hold on." Human spacecraft, carrying millions of enthusiastic settlers, continued to arrive from faraway colonies above them. The paradise their forefathers had envisioned. New tales of human ingenuity and perseverance of distant planets arrived with every ship. Triumphed over and obstacles vanquished, people had made it back to Earth, they were in, developed into an unstoppable force. With all their might, they had finally returned home. Pen the concluding report for the Galactic Council with the words, "Humanity is back. These aren't the same people that departed, so use this as a warning and an opportunity." The chance to work with them, the assurance that their word would be kept, and the strength to face their challenges head-on. Dear friends and foes alike, the era of human expansion has officially started. The hopes and aspirations of a race that adventured to the stars and discovered there, a long way from where